You're paying more than ever for health insurance that covers less and less. This isn't just a string of bad luck. The truth is that while you've been living up to your responsibilities, Washington has not. That's why we need change. Real change. This is no ordinary time, and it shouldn't be an ordinary election. But much of this campaign's been consumed by petty attacks and distractions that have nothing to do with you or how we get America back on track. Here's what I believe we need to do. Reform our tax system to give a $1,000 tax break to the middle class instead of showering more on oil companies and corporations that outsource our jobs. End the anything goes culture on Wall Street with real regulation that protects your investments and pensions. Fast track a plan for energy made in America that will free us from our dependence on Mideast oil in 10 years and put millions of Americans to work. Crack down on lobbyists once and for all, so their backroom deal-making no longer drowns out the voices of the middle class and undermines our common interests as Americans. And yes, bring a responsible end to the war in Iraq, so we stop spending billions each month rebuilding their country when we should be rebuilding ours. Doing these things won't be easy, but we're Americans. We've met tough challenges before, and we can again. I'm Barack Obama. I hope you'll read my economic plan. I approve this message because bitter partisan fights and outworn ideas of the left and the right won't solve the problems we face today, but a new spirit of unity and shared responsibility will.
With Republicans in the House having already voted to repeal the new health care law, the president defended it while holding out an olive branch.
Now, I have heard rumors that a few of you still have concerns about our new health care law. So let me be the first to say that anything can be improved. If you have ideas about how to improve this law by making care better or more affordable, I am eager to work with you.
Well, there was more than one response by the Republicans tonight, and therein lies a story. The official response was delivered by Congressman Paul Ryan of Wisconsin, and here's a little of what he had to say.
Whether sold as stimulus or repackaged as investment, their actions show they want a federal government that controls too much, taxes too much, and spends too much in order to do too much. And during the last 2 years, that is exactly what we have gotten, along with record deficits and debt, to the point where the president is now urging Congress to increase the debt limit.
This year, a lot of the energy in the Republican Party comes from the Tea Party movement, and Representative Michelle Bachmann of Minnesota, very unusually, delivered a response, in part on behalf of the Tea Party.
For 2 years, President Obama made promises just like the ones we heard him make this evening. Yet still, we have high unemployment, devalued housing prices, and the cost of gasoline is skyrocketing.
So, how do we explain this contradiction between the myth that politicians reflect the public and the reality that on most economic issues they actually ignore public opinion? Well, let's look at how the news media covers public opinion. When the media report on polls, what they're actually doing is telling a story about what public opinion is rather than just reflecting it. They're constructing how we understand public opinion. And the news media have a lot of power here because they choose what questions to ask and what questions not to ask. Ordinary people's opinions usually only count in as much as they respond to that conversation. Media influence on public opinion has been studied for many years now. We know, for example, that the media often play what's called an agenda-setting role. Public concern about issues tends to follow media coverage of those issues rather than any changes in the real world. A few years ago, the degradation of the environment, issues like global warming, destruction of wilderness and chronic air, water and soil pollution, started to get a fair amount of media coverage. Accordingly, polls suggested this was one of the most important issues for most people. But then the news media started to lose interest. And even though most of the environmental problems have actually become worse since then, polls showed public concern decreasing. Or take an issue like drugs. Over the last 2 decades, public concern about drugs has gone from 3% to over 50% and back to 3% in polls. And those shifts have absolutely nothing to do with the scale of the problem and everything to do with the volume of media coverage.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC.
Gesundheit, you okay?
No, I'm not okay. I have that virus that's going around.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, you better stay back. This one's a doozy.
That's okay, I'll be fine.
No, do not be a hero. Last year there were 114,000 known viruses for PCs.
PCs, not Macs. So, just grab this one.
I think I got a crash.
Hey, if you feel like that'll help, good.